This Korean mathematical genius wanted to remain anonymous. He received numerous major awards for his work in mathematical research worldwide. At school, he was just a very normal and quiet person. One day, a crackerjack in math appeared as a teacher at his school. She challenged the top students with a tough math problem. The best students' answers were incorrect. That disappointed her, and when she was going to give up, she received one student's note: "There is no solution for an incorrect math problem." That was a correct answer to her. She intentionally gave an incorrect math problem to test the student's reasoning abilities. She had no idea that the note writer would later like her. He would even do something beyond the teacher-student relationship, even when she already had a fiancé. How will their teacher-student relationship end? And what breakthroughs would their mathematical careers achieve? Stay tuned for this fantastic TV series. Teacher Yoon-soo and mathematical genius Sun-yu met each other in a train. They were in the group of winners of the Mathematical Olympiad. Today, it was Yoon-soo's turn to give a math problem for the group to solve. The problem she gave is: a little girl takes a train moving 1 kilometer to the south. A bear jumps out of the blue. The train shifts round to the east for 1 kilometer. It then shifts to the north for another 1 kilometer, heading to the girl's home. What color is the bear? The group chat was buzzing with her confusing question. The members considered it a quiz. Yet, Sun-yu was seriously working with his answer in the toilet. A member of the group chat texted, "It's a white bear." Yoon-soo, with her interest, asked about the way he solved it. But he didn't reply to her. She explained by herself that the last destination is the North Pole. Polar bears are white, and that's the answer. For Yoon-soo, that is mathematics. Math is not just numbers. It is full of change and variety. Thanks to her special thinking, Young-ah, head of the school administration at Asean High School, appointed her to be a professor who teaches the best students. Yoon-soo was taking a train to Asean High School. An asleep man kept leaning on her shoulder. Getting annoyed, she came to another board and encountered Sun-yu. The bullet train shook slightly when crossing a tunnel. Sun-yu timely took Yoon-soo. This was the first time they saw each other. They both were quite perplexed. Their tote bags, which looked the same, fell to the floor. Shortly after, they took their own seats. Yoon-soo was attracted by the numbers on Sun-yu's cap. When the train drew in the station, Yoon-soo left hurriedly, forgetting her tote bag. Sun-yu found and brought it to her. The man picking Yoon-soo up was her fiancé. He took her to their matrimonial apartment. Yoon-soo was surprised by his well-prepared gift. A while later, she realized her bag had been switched. She checked on the camera with her curiosity and saw many intriguing things. All the photos were relevant to prime number and geometry. At the same time, Sun-yu realized he had taken the wrong bag when he got home. The next day, he contacted Yoon-soo and they chose a day to switch the bags. He got her number from the Lost and Found Center. And she just came out from there. She asked him to see her outside of the Opera House the following day. They just chatted with each other, without noticing that they had passed by each other many times at school. At school, Yoon-soo gave a refresher course to a student who excels in mathematics. However, she chose artistic drawings as the topic for her students. The class monitor was the first to submit the answer. He was absolutely confident in his answer. Vice class monitor Yirin could not lose to him. She and her tutor worked hard to solve it overnight. Because her parents were congressmen. Therefore, she must have flying colors to save their faces. Her father wanted her to be in the list of students being rewarded by president. That put great pressure on Yirin. Despite her efforts, Yirin's answer was incorrect. So were other students' answers. Someone attached a note with the correct answer on the board. There is no solution for an incorrect math problem. Yoon-soo asked the students around her. But no one dared admit it to be the note writer. Yoon-soo checked on the CCTV, but it was out of order. The head of the school administration heard about it. She asked Yoon-soo to her office. Yoon-soo's test was meaningless to Young-ah. She recruited Yoon-soo to help her students win the Mathematical Olympiad. No need to improve their mindset, which was exact opposite of Yoon-soo's goal. She still determined to find one who got the right answer. Hence, she played a trick by attaching a note pointing out it was no grounds for his claim. This indeed affected Sun Yu's self-esteem. He then came back to prove his claim. Actually, he was also the one who texted, "It's a white bear." When Yoon-soo returned, she saw Yirin in front of the board. She thought she just found the true smart one. Yirin didn't deny to bring herself glory. After school, Song-jae waited at the place where they agreed to meet. A while later, Yoon-soo arrived. She even told him the exact meaning of the numbers on his cap. That is a special prime number. They switched the bags. When Yoon-soo asked Sun Yu if he liked maths, he shook his head and left. All of a sudden, it poured. He gave his only umbrella to his teacher. Yoon-soo was too surprised to react. Meanwhile, Yoon-ah asked for a talk with Yirin. She knew Yirin wasn't able to find the answer. Yet, she told Yirin to keep her lie, in order to have Yoon-soo turn her into a talent. Yirin agreed. Soon after, Yirin was exposed. Yirin was asked to show the class how she did it. And she failed. Yoon-soo figured it out, but she didn't disclose it. After other students left the class, Yoon-soo talked to Yirin. Yirin admitted that she wasn't able to solve it. While Yoon-soo was trying to find the mysterious student, she accidentally watched a video of the dance club, in which Sun Yu was attaching the note on the board. He was the one whom she was finding for. She immediately ran everywhere to find Sun Yu. Finally, she found him sleeping on a bench. Her voice got him out of the nightmare about his past. At this third encounter, their fate was officially intertwined. Yoon-soo introduced herself and had a look at his name badge. He remained silent and followed her to the practice room. Sun Yu did not admit that he was the one who solved the problem. Accusing him of lying to his teacher, Yoon-soo required him to attend her class every Monday morning. Sun Yu didn't refuse. He cannot deny his love of mathematics. When he looked at anything, he always referred to numbers and formulas. Speaking of Yoon-ah, she was not only managing the prestigious Aseong High School, but also keeping it at the top to compete with her sister's international school. If she and her sister failed to show their abilities to their father, their position in the family will be shakeable. Right after dinner with his father and sister, Yoon-ah immediately met up with Yirin's father, who was a congressman. They planned to infiltrate the jury of Olympiad with their own men, forsaking the winner in favor of them. Even so, Aseong School must find the best student for the competition. Thanks to her fiancé, Yoon-soo also knew about this competition. She really wanted Sun Yu to join the contest as the school's representative. But when she checked on his school records, this boy always tried not to get a perfect score. So she decided to make him display his talent. The next day, she asked Sun Yu to come to her class and let him arrange his photos in different frames. Reduction, fractal and integral of advanced mathematics. Sun Yu was surprised as she was the second person who realized the meanings of his photos. Yoon-soo wanted him to join the selection and represent his school at the Olympiad competition. He rejected without thinking. He thought she was kind to him on purpose. Yoon-soo didn't bother to explain. She didn't care about Sun Yu's intelligence, what she cared about the mathematical world in his eyes. She then wrote a math problem on the board. When Sun Yu figured out the answer, he would know what he really wanted. It wasn't too late to join the competition until then. Not long after, Sun Yu's father came to see Yoon-soo. He showed her how his son got straight into MIT. He has practiced solving math problems from the age of 8. He hoped her would have him join the mathematical Olympiad. Yet, he did not want to reveal why Sun Yu turned to hate mathematics. Knowing Sun Yu had a trauma, Yoon-soo refused his father's request. Meanwhile, Yirin secretly met Yoon-ah. She asked Yoon-ah to help her get a chance to join Mathematical Olympiad without having to attend the school's election. Yoon-ah declined straight off. Then she put pressure on the girl. She would not deserve to be a student of Aseong if she failed the school's election. As for Sun Yu, he involuntarily solved the math problem given by Yoon-soo. At the same time, Yoon-soo looked for Sun Yu on the internet. It was probably because he failed in the Mathematical Olympiad that year. Sun Yu later did not dare to admit to be a genius. They both couldn't sleep at night. Yoon-soo cycled to the school to find relief. Coincidentally, she saw Sun Yu was solving the math problem. She gave him a helping hand. And a series of ideas appeared in their mind. Her theory aroused his passion for mathematics. They slogged away at the math problem without noticing the rising sun. Until the board was full of formulas, as they still couldn't find the solution, they both temporarily stopped. Sung-yu realized how he was excited working on a math problem. Yoon-soo realized he was forced to face a psychological issue. So, she decided to let him freely choose what he wanted. However, Young-ah saw them on the camera. She was searching for excellent students, so she could not ignore Sun-yu. Yi-rin and her father were watching a horse race. The chosen horse was always the strongest and would definitely win. That made Yi-rin feel confidence. Because she wasn't born the best student. Seeing how insecure she felt, he saw Young-ah at night and mentioned the mathematical Olympiad. Young-ah knew he was trying to mention his daughter. And so, she herself made an offer. If he could use his power to help her school be verified as the best one for mathematical gifted students. If successful, she promised to support Yi-rin. To prevent Sung-yu from taking Yi-rin's place, Young-ah asked for a talk with Sung-yu's father and showed him the footage, in which his son was drowning in solving a math problem. The father was moved to tears. He thought he could regain his passion. Young-ah immediately grabbed the chance, pursuing Sung-yu to transfer him to a new school for his sake. Returning home, he and his wife watched the video of little Sung-yu when he was deep into maths. They looked extremely proud. They hoped he could regain his passion one day. As soon as Sung-yu came home, Sung-yu's mother gave him a hug. Sung-yu's father wanted him to go to a high school for gifted students in social sciences. He wanted Sung-yu to keep doing the maths, promising to pay for the extra classes. That made Sung-yu felt extremely suffocated. Despite Sung-yu's denial, he pressed Sung-yu's face against the metal cabinet. He wanted Sung-yu to keep bringing glory home. Sung-yu's forgotten talent would be a waste of efforts in raising him. It was too much for Sung-yu. He ran out of home. He encountered Yoon-soo on the street. Seeing how haywire he was, Yoon-soo followed after him. Consuming Yoon-soo a pseudo-person, he didn't let her touch him. He thought she was using him. The next day, Yoon-soo asked the homeroom teacher about him. She was told he was going to a gifted high school. She tried to stop Sung-yu's father from taking him away. It's true that he is Sung-yu's father, but he has no right to press his opinion on him. She asked him to let her train Sung-yu. Only when he could be free in doing the maths, he would have done well and developed his talent. Sung-yu's father didn't listen to her. He still made his son to get a school transfer. Young-ah saw everything up from her office. Everything was still happening as he wished. Sung-yu and his father were taking a tour around his new school. Meanwhile, Yoon-soo and other teachers were selecting the best student. On the day of Oseon High School's election, Sung-yu was taking a test at the gifted high school. He tried to finish the test in a short time. Yoon-soo tried to buy time for him. She hoped Song-jae would arrive in time for the election. A minute before the exam, she was going to close the door. Someone pulled the door. Sung-yu didn't let her down. He told her he just found the answer for last night's math problem. Happy Yoon-soo took him in, asking the head of the department to let him participate in the exam. Sung-yu's appearance threatened other students. Young-ah didn't want it at all. The math teacher leaked the exam to Yi-rin. So, she just needed to write down the given answers. Sung-yu did the exam on his own in the same speed as Yi-rin. After the exam, Yi-rin upbraided Sung-yu for competing with her. He said he loved doing the maths while she took the exam under duress. The result had come. Both Yi-rin and Sung-yu got perfect scores. Yi-rin was not satisfied with the result. While Sung-yu didn't care whether he won the game. He just wanted to be taught by Yoon-soo. Yoon-soo was asked for a discussion about the mathematical Olympiad. As a former attendee, she knew the rules well. The two who got the same highest score must take another test. Young-ah knew perfectly well that Yi-rin couldn't beat Sung-yu. That was why she asked to see their fathers. Thanks to the congressman's connections, she was able to find out that there was a school would send no one to the competition. She wanted Yi-rin to represent that school in the competition. By that, she could keep genius Sung-yu at her school. And send the congressman's daughter get the chance as well. The congressman wasn't willing to keep Song-jae. However, Young-ah still wanted to have a genius at her school. Her desire was to turn Oseong into a royal high school, where would be home of the country's talents. escaping from the control of the Ministry of Education so she can do business with tuition money. In the future, children of high-ranking officials would study at her school. The congressman was completely dumbfounded. The news that Song-jae and Yirin would be trained for the mathematical Olympiad together, whispers and comments spread over the school. Yoon-soo would be their trainer. She gave them the first math problem, using mathematical language to sketch out a topic, then present it within 3 minutes. Yirin made an excuse to leave since she disliked both Yoon-soo and Sun-yu. The list of candidates being accepted to Yoon-soo's mathematical club was on the board, which included Sun-yu and boys in the dance club, except the class monitor. He found Yoon-soo with an attitude of discontent. Sun-yu took her into a corner to avoid being hurt. Yoon-soo didn't get into a state of panic. She calmly explained it to the class monitor. The one she chose had imaginative view of maths. They didn't based on memorized formulas. To clear up his queries, she would give him an answer at the seminar the following day. The next day, she really held a mathematical seminar. There, she answered all questions of her students. The class monitor saw it from the distance. He mocked at Yirin for being in the same club with Sun-yu. Yirin replied without thinking that people like them would lose to a genius like Sun-yu. The class monitor's mother couldn't take it. She found Young-na and complained it to her. Young-na reminded Yoon-soo of being flexible. Yoon-soo would still run her club without scare. She couldn't do anything but to give Yoon-soo a pot of plant. She would wait and see how Yoon-soo trained a talent. Yoon-soo brought it to her office. A note fell from the book that she lent Sun-yu. Sun-yu wondered about it and Yoon-soo said it wasn't from her. A famous vector research project was written on it. Sun-yu wanted to know who wrote it. Yoon-soo took Sun-yu to a nursing home. While she was finding for someone, Sun-yu was playing chess with an old man, who was Yoon-soo's father. Also the master of a vector research project following the movement of light in a matrix. Sun-yu took a chance to ask him about the repeats of the numbers. He immediately directed his perspective to a larger space. It is an infinite number and a finite number, creating hundreds of mathematical formulas from just a few numbers. He lost his mind due to a continuance of researching a number. That was Yoon-soo's suffering. It was also the reason why she didn't want maths to be bound by numbers. From then on, she solved math problem through pictures. The day after, Yoon-soo recognized Sun-yu's idea. To get more references for the topic, Yoon-soo wanted to bring Yirin and Sun-yu to an exhibition on Jeju Island. Yirin refused to join as she was still angry. Yoon-soo and Sun-yu went there together. Hidden in the paintings here are numbers, which was special. After that, they came to the library to learn about history of geometry. Yoon-soo supported Sun-yu with her best in finding a topic for the presentation. They were together until night. The class monitor saw them having dinner together. He then came up with an evil idea. The next day, the whole school was shocked by a photo of Yoon-soo and Song-jae. Yirin knew it was the class monitor and she disagreed with his dirty prank. Yet, she changed her mind when he promised to cross Song-jae for her. Sun-yu punched the class monitor when he saw the photo. The classmates stopped Song-jae from giving the monitor more blows. Young-na was excited about the fight. She waited to see how Yoon-soo would handle it. Both the monitor and Sun-yu denied to admit their faults. Their case was assigned to the school cruelty prevention committee. If they weren't easy on it, Sun-yu would lose his chance to attend the competition. Yoon-soo and her fiancé came to a wedding dress studio. So, she couldn't follow and protect Sun-yu. She looked so beautiful in white. Yet, she was still worried about her student. As soon as hearing the news from the homeroom teacher, she took off her dress, apologized to her husband and mother-in-law before rushing to school. In the office, the class monitor's mother was making a fuss because her son was punched. Counting on her husband, the director of the Department of Communications, the class monitor's mother insisted on punishing Sun-yu. Otherwise, she wouldn't let it pass. Yoon-soo then showed her the faked photo, accusing her son of smearing the good repute of his teacher. If this case became viral on the internet, her son would be bashed. If the school's council involved, he might be expelled from school. The class monitor's mother was trembling, unable to speak. She immediately apologized to Yoon-soo. Next, Yoon-soo met Sun-yu and scolded him for being violent. On the other hand, she was happy when he expressed his emotions. He was no longer emotionless. Sun Yu decided to express himself as she wished. Hearing so, Yoon-soo completely set her mind at rest on the way home. Her fiancé was hacked off with a faked photo. He wanted her to quit her job. But she didn't want it. It was less tense the following day. The boys said sorry to each other and apologized their teacher. Yoon-soo forgave them. Yoon-soo had time with her husband after the settlement. The couple had dinner with the congressman. The congressman suggested that Yoon-soo helped his daughter with the Olympiad research. Unexpectedly, she was so blunt. She actually read Yerin's research. It was way too perfect, as if it was done by an expert. Because it was beyond a high school student's abilities. The congressman was out of his depth. She was the first one to expose him. It was the truth. Concurrently, Yerin's mother was talking to Young-na. Yerin would be supported by experts from the Institute of Scientific Research. Outsiders thought she was trained together with Sun Yu. Yoon-soo knew this wasn't a fair competition. She couldn't reveal the congressman's true colors. After the meal, the couple was made to take the congressman's gift. On the way home, her fiancé told her the congressman would sponsor the competition. He already chose the winner. The Mathematical Olympiad aimed to connect the Mathematical Society to the Department of Education. Yoon-soo was very upset by that. She asked her husband to return the congressman's gift. Then she got off the car and walked home. Sun Yu saw Yoon-soo was walking. He ran towards her and gave her an ice cream. To ensure the competition's equity, on the next day, Yoon-soo took Sun Yu to Jeju Island again for a better idea. Coincidentally, Yerin and her mother were also there. Yerin presented her project on face detection. Yoon-soo and Sun Yu were in a room filled with lozenges. The reflection of light created a dim space, making Sun Yu feel warmth toward his teacher. Sun Yu unintentionally took photos of Yoon-soo. At the Gallery of Van Gogh, Sun Yu admitted that he didn't find the answer for her math problem. His answers weren't perfect enough. Yoon-soo revealed that even her father failed to solve it. Sun Yu didn't need to immerse in it. They admired the stars and listened to music together. Sun Yu got more feelings for Yoon-soo. At the airport, Yoon-soo was dropping off. Sun Yu sat closer to her and let her lean on his shoulder. When Yerin and her mother were entering the airport, Yerin saw the moment. Yet, she didn't grab the chance to topple Song-jae. So, she put her mother off the scent. It was to avoid a fuss made by her own mother. Sun Yu and Yoon-soo arrived in Seoul. He only left after she got into her home. Compared to the photos of art he'd taken, Yoon-soo's photos made him more interested in maths. The following day, Young-na reminded Yoon-soo of not playing favorite with only one student. Or else, the other student would be envy. Young-na seemed to know everything happened yesterday. When Yoon-soo was trying to figure it out, Yerin came to see her. She thought Yoon-soo cared about Sun Yu more than her. It was hard for Yerin to compete with a genius. Yoon-soo said she had no partiality for him, persuading Yerin to consider it a festival and try her best. Watching from outside of the classroom, her envy of him was clearly expressed on her face. Yoon-soo was surprised by Sun Yu's topic. He was indeed talented. She gave him a rock as a talisman. It referred to his passion for maths. On the day of the Mathematical Olympiad, Yerin didn't want to stay with Yoon-soo and Sun Yu. She made an excuse to return to her mother's car for the ready-made presentation. While Yoon-soo and Sun Yu attended the talk of a math professor. 20 minutes before the competition, Yoon-soo got to the examination room for the preparation. Sun Yu saw his older teacher in the hall. He felt hard to breathe with tension and pressure. The old teacher recognized him. Their compliments on genius Sun Yu reviving his wound in the past. He broke away from them. This young man is Sun Yu's brother. They both were titled math genius. And Sun Yu was more talented. Losing sense of self-worth, Song-jae's brother took his own life. It left Sun Yu with trauma. This is also the reason why he wanted to give up mathematics. While Sun Yu was in panic, Yerin was allowed to the board of examiners. Yoon-soo was there and she thought it was unfair. She asked Yerin for a talk. She also called Sun Yu. Sun Yu picked up her call and said sorry with a tremble. He already lost his confidence. Yoon-soo came up to the rooftop for him with her anxiety. Happening to see the numbers on a license plate, Sun Yu remembered Yoon-soo's words. His motivation flared up strongly. He felt exciting to solve a math problem. Writing down on papers, he finally found the answer for Yoonsu's math problem. Yoonsu found him as soon as he completed. Looking at his tearful face in answer to the question, she was extremely confused. He reminded her of the competition. They had to quickly get to the examination room. They were present at roll call in time. His appearance made Yirin feel insecure. Yirin's parents, Sunyu's parents, and Yoonash's sister also came. Other students chose to talk about 4.0 technology. To make herself stand out, Yirin spoke English during her presentation. She introduced her mother as an example of her facial recognition technology. It was how she showed herself as a congressman's child. Completing her presentation, Yirin felt too stressed to throw up. Sunyu held the Lucky Rock tight, standing on the stage. He wondered if AI could write a novel, compose music, and play chess. He used the theory of infinite and finite numbers to explain that people's emotion and imagination is limitless, while the most advanced technology developed by human is finite. The abstract made everyone laugh. Sunyu was way too different from other candidates. They created a technology product, and he created a mathematical research premise. Yoonsu was proud of her students' new mathematical perspective. Yirin was worried that he would win her. Those who laughed at Sunyu earlier then gave him a round of applause. There were 4 candidates getting the awards, including Yirin and Sunyu. However, the winner was Yirin. The thing was that there appeared 2 grand awards. Because the foreign jury was very impressed with Sunyu's humanistic speech. So he deserved to win the same award as Yirin. The teacher was happy for her student, and Sunyu's parents were proud of him. While Yoona looked so unhappy. Sunyu wanted to take a photo with Yoonsu. But she already left with her fiancé. Sunyu ran after them. Yoonsu's fiancé got to a quiet corner to pick up his boss's phone call. Sunyu took Yoonsu to the rooftop and showed her the license palette that inspired him with the answer. It was an extremely balanced prime number sequence. Sunyu opened his heart after gaining the achievement. He loved his brother, who was also his first friend, a lot. He was also your first friend, so you loved him very much. One day, Sunyu's answer broke his brother's years of research. His brother chose to end his own life. Knowing the truth, Yoonsu deeply sympathized with him because her father went crazy due to failure on his lifetime research. Her fiancé saw her soothing on Sunyu. At the table, Yoonsu's fiancé said Sunyu had feelings for her. He admonished her to be more careful. Or else, a half-grown guy like him would fall for her. He wasn't the only thinking so. Yirin also believed that Sunyu had feelings for Yoonsu. Back then, she was in the same group of genius trainees with Sunyu. However, Yirin wasn't a genius. She couldn't leave the class until she corrected her answers. Only Sunyu stayed and helped her out. For this, she felt like him. Parallel to this, she was jealous of his talent. Back to the present, Yirin got in a problem. A reporter claimed on the news that Yirin's presentation was the same as Professor Cha. Professor Cha was member of the examiner board. Adding to this, Yoonsu refused to answer the reporter's question about the training of Yirin and Sunyu. Yoonsu didn't know that woman was a reporter. And for that, Yirin's copy was exaggerated. Which made Yirin hated Yoonsu even more. Next day at school, Yirin was surrounded by reporters. Sunyu grabbed Yirin's hand and got her out of the crowd. He told Yirin to talk to Yoonsu. When Yirin came, Yoonsu said cheating to win was wrong. Yirin was a smart one with chaotic inside. Yoonsu could help her untie it. Yirin didn't buy into her. Yirin believed that she deserved those benefits thanks to her family's condition. Sunyu was a genius and Yirin was rich. That was fair for her. She didn't care about the criticism. Yoona had a private talk with Yoonsu. The double privileges for Yirin were totally normal. She frankly told Yirin her school was for teaching descendant of an influential family. If Yirin tried to change anything, she would be fired. Despite what Yoona said, she didn't leak the midterm test to the congressman when he asked for it. Yirin crazily made a fuss, asking her parents to help her top her class. Yirin went to see Yoona in person, showing her discontent with Yoonsu. Yoona was happy with that. She encouraged Yirin to maintain her eager for winning. Back to school, Yirin was so jealous when seeing Yoonsu and Sunyu talking together. After school, Yoonsu cycled home as usual. But her brake was out of control. She fell off her bike. Sung-yu carried her on his back to hospital. He couldn't stand as her guardian, but her fiancé could. Meanwhile, Yirin went crazy when studying too hard. She even used drugs to improve her concentration, which scared her mother. Her mother didn't need her to top her school. However, Yirin didn't resign herself to lose her position. Having an investigation, Yoona finally found out it was her sister who spread the rumor. She warned her sister to be careful. Yoona's sister threatened her position. Back to Sung-yu, for Yoonsu's safety, he, with his bike, waited for her. Yoonsu's fiancé took her to work. He followed the car for a long distance. Checking a colleague's black box, Yoonsu knew it was Yirin who broke her bike. Yoonsu didn't want to make a big deal out of it. She just had a private talk with Yirin. Giving Yirin the assessment of anxiety and learning, Yoonsu wanted to know if Yirin had psychological problems. Yirin had all the problems in the assessment. She burst into tears and tore the paper. Yirin told Sung-yu she broke Yoonsu's bike. She asked Sung-yu to keep his grades lower than her or Yoonsu would be in danger. He refused since he wanted to make a better version of himself. Failed to persuade Sung-yu, Yirin sent him Yoonsu's wedding invitation. He was too shocked to soak himself in the rain. Then he turned around to find Yoonsu. Yoonsu had told him to express his emotions, but he tried to restrain his emotion. Yoonsu took a step away from him cause she knew what he was going to say. Sung-yu just gave her a pad of photos and left. Meanwhile, Yirin brought the photo taken when Yoonsu sleeping on Sung-yu's shoulder to Yoona. She knew Yoona needed it to handle Yoonsu. Yirin used it to exchange for the midterm test. Yoona cracked up and refused Yirin. Yoona advised Yirin to keep the photo for the right time. On Sunday, Yoonsu had a meal with her future father-in-law. He reminded her of prioritizing Congressman's daughter. Yoonsu disagreed with him. On the way home, her fiancé failed to change her mind. Feeling too confused, Yoonsu went to see her dad. As soon as she arrived, Sung-yu was getting on the bus. Sung-yu visited Yoonsu's dad and showed him the answer. The next day at school, Yoonsu gave him back the gift. She couldn't accept his sentiment. She hoped he would find a good match soon. Sung-yu smothered his feelings and left. Sung-yu's gift was accidentally discovered by the class monitor. The class monitor asked to see Sung-yu at the basket court. He would give it back to Sung-yu if he bottomed the class again. Sung-yu was about to give him a blow. The class monitor would show the whole school those photos if Sung-jae dared. It would destroy Yoonsu's career. Sung-yu wasn't intimidated by terrorist threats. He swore to take over the class monitor's place in the next exam. The midterm exam was coming. All of the teachers and students were busy. Making use of the hustle and bustle at the office, the math teacher took photos of the test and sent them to Yirin's mother. The mother gave Yirin the answers. During the exam, Sung-yu kept up with his speed. Yirin wrote down the answers she learned by heart. When the exam results came out, the class monitor got jealous of Sung-yu's highest score and tore the test. Yirin figured out there was a difference in one answer. She wrote down the wrong answer. At the same time, the math teacher just remembered giving Yirin the wrong answer. Yoonsu asked for a talk with Yirin. She questioned Yirin about it. Yirin didn't know how to justify herself. Luckily, the math teacher wanted to talk with Yoonsu outside. He then told Yirin about what happened. The congressman discovered by accident. To save his daughter, he had no choice but admitted it to Yoona. Unexpectedly, it was her who allowed the math teacher to leak the test. This would have been fine if Yirin could tell it was a wrong answer. Yirin was more incompetent than her thought. The congressman down and begged Yoona to save his daughter. In return, he would use his relationship with the Ministry of Education to support her school. Yoonsu and the homeroom teacher supposed the test was leaked, and Yirin had written down the answer she was given. They would dig into it when the exam was over, avoiding a panic on their students. Yirin ended up ranking 13 at school, while Sung-yu scored 100 every subjects. The class monitor showed the whole class the photos of Yoonsu taken by Sung-yu. Sung-yu burned all the photos to stop this from happening again. The bottom-ranked students suddenly topped the whole school. Rumor had it that Sung-yu had a liaison with Yoonsu. When the exam was over, Yoonsu wanted to dig into Yirin's answers. Yet, the homeroom teacher said the vice principal wanted them to stop. It actually was young Ash's wish. She laid the blame onto the math teacher. She ordered him to admit his fault in front of the school's council. As a result, all the students had to retake the math test. Their math scores would be nullified. No one would find out Yirin's cheat. The congressman was happy when it was amicably settled. At school, making an excuse that the students' solutions were not within the remit of the curriculum, they all had to retake the math test. Sun Yu opposed to it. The math teacher scolded him in front of other teachers, including Yoon Soo. Sun Yu wrote his answer on the board. The math teacher was speechless when Sun Yu successfully proved it was within the curricula. While other teachers were happy because they wouldn't need to work on the test again. The math teacher implored Young Ah's help. At the same time, Yirin asked for her mother's help. One more time, Yoon Soo questioned Yirin about her answer. Yirin pretended to lose her breath to avoid Yoon Soo's question. Yoon Soo and the phys ed teacher carried her to the infirmary. Other students saw it and thought that Yirin was oppressed by Yoon Soo. Yirin's mother got angry and slapped Yoon Soo. Sun Yu stopped her from hurting Yoon Soo. He pushed her against the wall. Young Ah appeared and brought Yirin's mother and Yoon Soo to her office. She demanded Yirin's mother to say sorry to Yoon Soo. Also, she promised Yoon Soo that she would check on the math result again. Yoon Soo agreed and left. This whole thing reached Yeonwoo's ears, who was Young Ash's sister. Yeonwoo met up with Yoon Soo in person. She also told Yoon Soo that her sister would be able to liquidate anyone in her way. If Yoon Soo faced any disadvantages, Yeonwoo promised to help. It was within Young Ash's reach. On the way home, Yoon Soo encountered Sun Yu. It was hard for him to congratulate her wedding. She also encouraged him to keep going on with mathematics. Sun Yu turned away trying to suppress his emotions. He recalled all moments with Yoon Soo from their first encounter. On Yoon Soo's wedding day, all the students in her math club attended. Sun Yu went to a math conference to avoid the reality. Yoon Soo and her husband walked into the assembly hall aisle with everyone's blessings. Suddenly, the screen showed the photo taken when she slept on Sun Yu's shoulder, which threw everyone into a tumult. It was Young Ah who did it. She even took photos of them when Sun Yu congratulated Yoon Soo on her marriage. Yoon Soo was stunned. Her husband suspected her, and her mother-in-law left in the middle of the wedding. When Sun Yu was on TV to talk about his achievements, Yoon Soo was fired. The parents sniped at her. Young Ah certainly followed the correct procedure. She did everything she could to knock someone off. For years later, Sun Yu was known as a genius over the whole country. He won countless awards and even the Nobel Prize in mathematics. During the interview, he revealed that he dropped out of high school. Yet, he took a competency assessment exam to get into a university. From then on, he immersed himself in maths. He made himself famous to make a special person never forget him. After graduation, Yirin became ASEAN High School's ambassador. Young Ah succeeded in doing business with education. The high-ranking officials asked her to accept their children with an ingratiating nod. Young Ah gained her ends by hook or by crook. She even took advantage of her daughter. Crying out loud, she forced her daughter to enhance her studying achievements. Sun Yu was invited to many places to deliver his speech. One time he accidentally met a girl wearing a cap with prime numbers. His heart beat fast as he thought it was Yoon Soo. Immediately, he ran towards her. He took off her cap, but she wasn't Yoon Soo. End of the speech. The girl with the cap took photos with him. Sun Yu's friend sent him a link to her SNS account. On her newsfeed, he saw a post of the book, which was the same the one Yoon Soo lent him. Sun Yu remembered the day Yoon Soo was caught 4 years ago. He was willing to risk her life to purge her of suspicion. But when he came to her home, she already moved and rejected his calls. Back to the present. Sun Yu tracked the book down. He found a library and went there to ask the librarian about it. She said an anonymous person donated that book. Sun Yu went to the nursing home to visit Yoon Soo's father again. He showed him the half-done thesis, which was completed by Sun Yu and awarded with a medal. When Sun Yu took him back to his room, the nurse said his daughter just came. However, Yoon Soo left before Sun Yu could find her. He couldn't find her anywhere outside of the hospital. The nurse said she would come twice a month. Thanks God! Sun Yu encountered Yoon Soo before he left. Sun Yu wanted to hear her praises. Yet, she wanted to break off relations with him. After that, she read the thesis done by Sun Yu. Yonga offered Sun Yu a job at her high school. Unexpectedly, he accepted her offer. Her school was upgraded to a school for the gifted students in maths. The best alumnus were invited to the first day of school ceremony. All the students only focused on Sun Yu. Other alumnus weren't happy with that. Sun Yu met the girl with the cap again. Her name is Xian. During the playtime, Sun Yu asked if she had a private teacher. Xian said she was too poor to have a private teacher. Her classmates despised her, including Gina, Yunash's daughter. However, Gina defended her when she was bullied. Actually, Can's tutor was Yunsu. She told no one as Yunsu's wish. Reading the news, Yunsu knew Sun Yu was working for ASEAN High School. Yunsu was working for a math center. This center keeps teachers' identities confidential, or was hard to be accepted as a trainee there. Even for rich kids. Even Yirin's mother found it hard to add her youngest son into the waiting list. The math teacher took a photo with Sun Yu. Though Song Jae divorced Yunsu, he was still trying to prove her innocence. As she told him it was Yoonga's scheme. He was working with Yeonjun to investigate ASEAN High School's past scandal. Xian told Yunsu that Sun Yu asked the whole class to make reference to the book I Love Maths for their research. The book's publication was ceased and it became scarce. Xian couldn't find the book. To help her student, Yunsu came to the library where she donated the book and found it. Unexpectedly, Sun Yu was already there waiting for her. It was time to close the library. The librarian turned off all the lights, startling Yunsu. Sun Yu took her in time. The librarian already left, locking them inside the library. While waiting for being rescued, Sun Yu got some time with Yunsu. He remembered they once admired the pictures here together. And he could tell Xian was Yunsu's student. At the confusing moment for Yunsu, the librarian came back. They got out of there. Yunsu drove home. Sun Yu followed her on his motorbike. The class monitor was tutoring Yirin's brother. Kyuhyun had feelings for Yirin. He expressed a wish to take her home after work. Offered to take her home. She wanted to drive it by herself. Driving with excitement, she almost crashed Yunsu's car. Got out of the car, Yirin angrily knocked on the door. She wanted the driver to apologize to her. Yunsu didn't want to see them again. Right at this moment, Sun Yu arrived. When Yirin was distracted, Yunsu drove away. She returned to the center. Her mind was full of the moment seeing Sun Yu again. Though she ignored him, Sun Yu was still so happy. He even sent her a good morning message next day. With just a glimpse of a sequence of number, he could remember her phone number. Sun Yu asked her out for lunch. He was happy when her came, but she wasn't there for lunch. She requested him not to contact her. Sun Yu asked Xian about her. Thanks to Yunsu's help in finding the book, CM successfully completed her essay. Sun Yu wanted her to join him in his coming essay. In exchange, he wanted to know how she met Yunsu. Couldn't hide it anymore, Xian revealed it to Song Jae. Yunsu met Xian when she laid a bet on a Chinese chess game. Despite her young age, Xian could win all the veterans. She won all the betting money. One day, she was caught. An orphan like her had no one stand bail for her. Even though they didn't know each other, Yunsu bailed her out. That was how Xian became her student. Yonga heard about Sun Yu's essay. She promised the parents that would help getting their children's name together with him on the essay. As usual, Yirin's mother was the last one to stay and give Yonga a gift. After the tea break, Yonga was summoned to the police station. Her child was accused of stealing a high-end watch at a yoga center. Yonga calmly gave the officer her card visit. She reminded him not to make a big deal out of this. Then she immediately returned to school and opened her daughter's closet. And she found the stolen watch. Yonga screamed in anger. It was too late and Xian wasn't home yet. She didn't pick up Yunsu's calls. Sun Yu took her to the nursing home. There, she played chess with Yunsu's father. Sun Yu grabbed the chance to pick up Yunsu's phone. Knowing they were at the nursing home, Yunsu drove there to pick up Xian. Xian was hungry. Song Jae wanted to have dinner with them. Sitting by Xian, Sun Yu looked like Yunsu's student though he was a teacher then. On the way home, Sean told Yoon-soo that Sun Yu let her join his project on founding National Museum of Mathematics. In the meantime, Sun Yu was on a school reunion. Yirin still had feelings for Sun Yu. Song-jae asked for Yirin's phone number on his own initiative. Next day at school, Jina freaked out when the watch disappeared. On the other hand, Young-ah was finding a lawyer whom could get her daughter out of the lawsuit. Anyway, there wasn't enough evidence to charge Jina with stealing. Jina didn't know who took the watch. She attended Sun Yu's class with anxiety. Rich kids expressed their contempt for Seon when she was there. Sun Yu ordered them to work on a topic: what mathematical products to display in a museum. During the playtime, Jina lent Seon her laptop to work on her PowerPoint. Seon thought Jina just wanted to help. The next day, Young-ah invited the journalists, parents, and authorities of Ministry of Education to her school. She announced Sun Yu's project on National Museum of Mathematics. Yoon-soo was watching the live stream. Each student presented their ideas. When it was Jina's turn, Seon was dumbfounded as Jina stole her idea. Yoon-soo realized it was Can's slide. Seon presented the same slide as Jina, throwing everyone into a tumult. They thought Seon stole Jina's idea. Young-ah knew it was Jina's scheme. The two little girls faced Song-jae and Young-ah together. Jina shamelessly said Seon borrowed her laptop and copied her slide. To cover it up temporarily, Young-ah gave them 2 weeks to prove themselves. The cheating one would be kicked out of the project. Coming home, Young-ah slapped Jina. Jina was not afraid at all. She did not admit that she was the watch thief. The more Young-ah tried to protect the school's honor, the more Jina wanted to destroy it. Yoon-soo couldn't let Seon suffer a loss. She asked the center's manager to let her see Jina's mother, as she knew Jina was striving for getting a slot at the math center. On the way home, Song-jae bumped into Yoon-soo and followed after her. He called her name in front of a cafe. Yoon-soo wasn't well prepared for this unexpected situation. Seeing Song-jae grab Yoon-soo's wrist, Sun Yu rushed there to push him away from her. Song-jae blamed her for not keeping a distance from Sun Yu. He didn't expect them to keep in touch after the scandal. Yoon-soo didn't want to give Song-jae an explanation. She was there to tell Sun Yu that Seon was suffering an unjust accusation. As Sun Yu was still finding a way to help Seon out, Yoon-soo decided to do it in her way, which worried Sun Yu. Meantime at school, Jina blocked Seon way. Seon flung her arm out to stop Jina from stabbing her with a pen. Jina warned Seon not to fight her back. The car not to try to fight her. In another place, Sun Yu was confronting Song-jae. Both of them believed in their abilities to project Yoon-soo. Sun Yu was a full-grown man, becoming Song-jae's rival in love. Yoon-soo had an appointment with Young-ah. She still didn't know Yoon-soo was the secret teacher whom she was waiting for. However, Yoon-soo was having a meal in another room. The center manager talked to Young-ah instead. He told her Yoon-soo was Seon's tutor. So that Young-ah must be fair in this. If she really made it fair, Yoon-soo would try her best to teach Jina. Yoon-soo recorded their talk. She then brought meal boxes to the orphanage where lived Seon. Coincidentally, Sun Yu was also there. He brought math toys to give to the kids. Yoon-soo didn't want to see him, yet he still ran after her. He gave her a pair of flats. Yirin's mother doubted that her husband was having an affair. The deleted information from the black box and messages on the smartwatch worried her. She attached the eavesdropper to the steering wheel. Her husband was with Young-ah. She wanted to use Sun Yu's museum project to make a big splash for her school. To win Sun Yu's heart, she showed him the footage recording how her daughter stole Can's slide, with a hope that he would let it pass. She hopes he will ignore it. However, he kicked Jina out of his project. Young-ah was dumbfounded. As soon as Sun Yu got out of her office, the vice principal immediately ran to her and told the shocking news. Young-ah was reported to take advantage of funds for poor students on the news. She got furious and questioned her sister. It wasn't Yeonwoo who did this. Actually, Yoon-soo was the one. She recorded the talk between Young-ah and the center manager. Young-ah suggested him use the funds for poor students to do business. The congressman revealed to Young-ah that an inspector would come to her school soon. On the other hand, Sun Yu told Seon she was proved innocent. Jina was hacked off about being kicked out of the project. Jina smeared Seon in front of her friends. Sean wasn't easy to push around. She threw Gina against the wall and warned her, never steal and despise people. Sean then turned away and left. It was on the news that ASEAN High School discriminates students. Officials' children were given easy questions to get high scores. The news startled Yoon-soo, because she knew it was Sun Yu, and he did it to help her revenge. Aside from reporting their violations, he aimed to prove her innocence. Actually, Yoon-soo didn't forget the past. She would revenge without affecting Sun Yu. Yoon-soo hoped he would live his life. Still, he wanted to help her regain justice, like the way she got him out of the dark. Yoon-soo left helplessly. She visited her father at the nursing home. It was the first time he spoke to her. He said every mathematician felt bored for a period of their life. He advised Yoon-soo that every mathematician has a period of discouragement. What he said made her cry. Sun Yu was invited to his close friend's housewarming party. Seeing Yirin was there, he agreed to join. He was trying to approach her on purpose. Yirin and Sun Yu went out to buy more snacks. Song-jae helped her carry the stuff. Then he mentioned the photo she took 4 years ago. Yirin teared up when Sun Yu said he forgave her. Yoon-soo saw them when parking her car. Returning home, she opened the shoebox given by Sun Yu. Recalling the moment between Sun Yu and Yirin, she felt so confused. Coming back to the party, Sun Yu said he had a crush on someone for a long time. Yirin's heart raced hearing so. Yeonwoo saw Yoon-soo when she took her niece to the center. In the meantime at school, Young-ah asked Seon who was her tutor at the center. Seon didn't tell her. Young-ah had no idea it was Yoon-soo, who just became her daughter's tutor. Yoon-soo and Gina first met at the center. Yoon-soo had the footage which proved Gina's stealing. Gina was shocked and got scared by Yoon-soo. Instead of threatening Gina, Yoon-soo manipulated her. She promised no one would know about it. In return, Yoon-soo wanted to hear Gina's thinking of her mother. Young-ah ordered the vice principal to destroy all the evidences before the inspector came. He didn't know Sun Yu was spying on him. On the opening of Sun Yu's museum, many high-ranking officials were there to congratulate him. After that, they had a meal together. Sun Yu saw Yoon-soo's car parking near the restaurant. He saw her shoes in front of the next-door room. He sneaked into another room and texted Yoon-soo, Young-ah and the congressman are here. Sun Yu hid himself to avoid Young-ah. Bumping into a waiter, Young-ah had to go to the toilet. Taking this opportunity, Sun Yu asked Yoon-soo to open the door and dragged her out of there. Young-ah saw them when they tried to avoid Song-jae. She realized Sun Yu's shoes were gone, so she quickly chased after them. Coming up to the rooftop, Sun Yu hugged Yoon-soo from behind, turning his back against Young-ah for hiding themselves from Young-ah. Despite there might be a couple, Young-ah stepped forward to check them out. The waiter appeared and told Young-ah everyone was waiting, making a chance for them to escape. Sun Yu gave Yoon-soo his blazer. Then he returned to the table. Young-ah smelled something but she couldn't tell. Yoon-soo remembered she left her bag with the manager. She came home in a fatigued state. Bad memories coming unbidden to her mind. Her fortitude was defeated. She got a fever at night, having no choice but to ask for Sun Yu's help. He immediately came to her apartment. Yoon-soo opened the door and fell into his arms. He quickly took her to the hospital. Kyu-young caught sight of them. Young-ah saw the photo of Sun Yu before he came to the table. His blazer was the same as the suspicious guy. Yoon-soo lost in the nightmare of her past scandal. The students mocked at her while her colleagues turned their backs. Sun Yu's voice woke her up. Yoon-soo thought she was so strong. Unexpectedly, she got a fever when confronting her enemy. Believing that Song-jae had a crush on her, Yirin asked Sun Yu out for dinner. Sun Yu looked at Yoon-soo when receiving Yirin's message. He promised to make Yirin to apologize to Yoon-soo. The inspector captured the math teacher for the investigation. He was accused of taking bribes from parents. Young-ah didn't want to interfere with it. She passed the buck to the math teacher. In fact, Sun Yu revealed it to the reporter. Yirin's mother watched the news when running on the treadmill. She fell off at hearing the math teacher was caught. She ran towards her husband. Both of them were afraid that he would expose Yirin's exam cheating. On Yirin's birthday, Sun Yu gave her a birthday cake. He wondered who presented the photo at Yoon-soo's wedding. Yirin doubted Young-ah. because she only sent it to Young-ah. Yirin was moved to tear when Sun Yu forgave her. Yirin encountered Kyuyun on the way home. He bought her a birthday cake. Yet, he didn't give it to her as she already had one. He just told her to be careful with Sun Yu. He saw Sun Yu with Yunsu the other day. Sun Yu waited for Yunsu until midnight. He got in her car and they hit the road. Yirin caught sight of them. She came there because she didn't buy into Kyuyun. As a result, what she saw upset her. Yirin came to see Young-ah with a sense of outrage. Her father was also there. He was hiding himself from her. Yirin told Young-ah that Yunsu was back. Yirin blamed Young-ah for taking advantage of her photo. That drove Young-ah up the wall. She warned Yirin with a pair of scissors that she actually used it to cover up Yirin's scandal. To help Yunsu reduce her stress, Sun Yu took her around the city on his motorbike. Yunsu indeed felt better. She decided to wear the shoes given by Sun Yu. Sun Yu smiled with content after a night out with Yunsu. Feeling inhibited after being fired, the math teacher came to see Young-ah in anger. Yet, the security man dragged him out of the school. Sun Yu succeeded in turning their backs on each other. At night, Yirin asked Yunsu out for a talk. She shamelessly thought that Yunsu was hanging on Sun Yu. Yirin was one of those who destroyed Yunsu's career. Instead of feeling sorry, Yirin was expressing her sentiment of pity on Yunsu. That raised Yunsu's danger up. She wouldn't forgive Yirin. Coming home, Yunsu solved a math problem. It was the only way to calm her down. Somehow, she failed to find the correct answer. Couldn't reach Yunsu on the phone, Sun Yu came to her place. He ran after her when she drove away. A black car followed them. He, the first stalker, was sent by Yunwoo. Yunsu came to a library for the answer to the math problem. Flipping all the pages, she still failed to find the answer. Being found by Sun Yu, Yunsu was about to leave but he held her back. He said they had solved a math problem overnight together. Even though they failed, they either enjoyed the feeling of unease or excitement of finding the answer. He wondered why she gave up so soon. Yunsu burst out crying, realizing she has fallen back. Sun Yu gave her an embrace. In the quiet place, they got closer to each other. Sun Yu wanted a kiss, yet Yunsu timely broke away from a haze of emotions. A sound echoed from afar. Sun Yu followed the direction of the sound. The second stalker got into his car and drove away. A while later, the third stalker appeared. He took photos of the moment Sun Yu covering Yunsu with her jacket in the rain. The second stalker was sent by Young-ah. She got a headache when Sun Yu was tied up with Yunsu in revenge. Knowing nothing, she even recruited Sun Yu and let Sun Yu tutor her daughter. She went crazy when everything was out of control. Sun Yu visited Yunsu's father. Waiting until he fell asleep, Sun Yu confessed his love to his daughter. They couldn't stay together back then. However, he promised to protect her in future. Young-ah pretended to be good. She even danced with her father. She was working herself into his favor. Yunwoo also joined the lunch. The position of the fund president was still vacant. One of them who did better would take over it. To win Yunwoo, Young-ah knew it wasn't the right time to fire Sun Yu. She needed his museum of mathematics. Yunwoo was also up to something. She asked Song-jae for Yunsu's phone number. Yunwoo wanted to use Yunsu to bring back the past scandal at Aseong, which might topple her sister, giving her the position as the president of the fund. On the day of publishing Sun Yu's book, Yunsu gave him a bouquet. Yunsu was startled when a reporter took a photo of them. Sun Yu asked him to delete the photo. At a private place, Sun Yu dared to take a photo with Yunsu. She looked strained in the first photo. She smiled in the second one. Yirin and Kyuyun saw them coming home together. Yirin aren't get out of the car. Meanwhile, Kyuyun picked a quarrel with Sun Yu and Yunsu. Yunsu left with calm. Sun Yu warned Kyuyun not to bother Yunsu. He then came home for his parents. This was the first time he came home after 4 years. His parents got rid of the past and warmly welcomed him. Sun Yu cooked his mother's favorite soup. After a dinner with them, he sent Yunsu their photos. While she was happily checking on them, she got a message from Yunwoo. Yirin met up with the math teacher. He thought she would help, but she actually warned him not to expose her. Otherwise he would carry a much heavier penalty. Sean had Yoonsu's father solving a math problem. She sent the answer to a mathematics journal. It matched Yoonsu's essay. Seon was called a copycat. She called Yoonsu for help. Yoonsu didn't know her father added to his essay. Seon was talking to Principal Young-ah. She said she didn't copy it. Young-ah didn't give it a care. She just wanted to know if the essay's author was Yoonsu's father. And if Yoonsu was tutoring Seon. She forced her to admit it. Or she would take away her scholarship and kicked her out of the school. Seon asked Yoonsu to help her out. Despite danger, she still came. She came to the place where her career was destroyed and saw the woman who trampled on her. She claimed that Seon didn't copy it. Her father helped Seon with the exercise. Young-ah used Seon to threaten Yoonsu. Yoonsu also used Jina to threaten Young-ah back. Young-ah freaked out. Young-ah held Yoonsu's hand and said sorry. Yoonsu would have forgiven Young-ah after her apology. Surprisingly, Young-ah smiled at Yoonsu. Young-ah would never say sorry. Getting on her nerve, Yoonsu came to see Yeonwoo, asking if Yeonwoo had a plan to topple Young-ah. Yeonwoo had in hand the evidences of Aseon's violations. The thing was that she couldn't unmask them in person, because her father would get mad at her. It wasn't the end. She thought of digging into the fund which was planned by Young-ah and the math center's manager. Right after that, Seon told Yoonsu she lost her scholarship and be expelled from the center. Yoonsu wondered why the manager did it. Young-ah came to the manager first and told him Yoonsu would sabotage their fund. So, he was about to expel both Yoonsu and Seon. Yoonsu told him to beware of Young-ah because she was so wicked. Sungyu was waiting for Yoonsu. She rejected his help. Moreover, she wanted to cut off relations with him. Young-ah said if Sungyu was involved in this, she would ruin his future. Yoonsu tried to get Sungyu out of this. Instead, she worked with Song-jae. Sungyu felt hurt by that. The announcement of the Museum of Mathematics was held at Aseon High School. Sungyu delivered a speech on the stage. He wrote T and F on the TV screen. It was short for true and false. He told about his relationship with Yoonsu 4 years ago. The articles about them were double-tongued. Young-ah looked calm. Yirin felt so insecure. The reporters surrounded Song-jae, kept taking photos of him. Young-ah interrupted Sungyu. Young-ah aren't do anything in front of the reporters. Sungyu made a statement in front of everyone that he would find out the truth. Yoonsu was watching. It was his message to Yoonsu as a promise to stick it out. Young-ah questioned Sungyu at the end of the announcement. Sungyu said he was helping to enhance media efficiency. This shut her mouth up. Both Yirin and her mother felt unsafe. Yirin wondered if she admitted her fault, would everything have gone this way? Her asthma recurred due to her feelings of guilty. The congressman and Young-ah were discussing a plan to handle Sungyu. He heard that Yoonsu was hospitalized. He instantly ran there. Yoonsu also went to see Sungyu. She wondered why he put himself in danger. If Sungyu hadn't done that, she would have been the only target. She was very confused. When her argument was shaky, she saw somebody watching them. Once again, she spoke to him with harsh words to end their relationship. The more Sungyu became well known on TV, the more worried the parents, who bribed to buy flying colors for their kids, got. Especially Yirin's mother. At the end of the meeting, she begged for Young-ah's help. She accidentally come across Young-ah's limited chain, which was exactly the same as the one her husband gave her. Coming home, she questioned her husband. She had the recordings which were just normal talks between her husband and Young-ah. Getting angry when his wife spied on him. He stood up and left. Sungyu's parents heard his speech. They didn't want him to have anything to do with Yoonsu, which put him in trouble. Sungyu wouldn't give up on it. He and his father had a row with each other. At school, rich kids bandied about Sungyu and Yoonsu. Couldn't stand hearing it. Seon had words with them. Jina told everyone that Yoonsu was tutoring Seon. Sungyu was disciplined because his speech caused a big impact. He might be fired. Jina provoked Seon with that news. Seon spoke up to shut Jina's mouth. Yoonsu's life was bothered. Yirin's mother came to her house and made a noise. Young-ah made a deal with Yirin. She showed Yirin photos of Sun Yu and Yoon-soo. She allowed Yirin to deal with it in her own way. On the other hand, Yoon-soo met up with Yeonwoo and gave her something that could help her beat Young-ah. What Yeonwoo needed to do was to prove Young-ah used the fund for her own needs. Yoon-soo didn't know Yeonwoo asked Song-jae to come. Song-jae's mother adored Yeonwoo. She expressed her satisfaction in front of Yoon-soo, yet Song-jae didn't save her face. He was frank that he wouldn't marry Yeonwoo. Yoon-soo left cause she didn't want to ruin their personal affair. Yoon-soo forgot her phone, which gave Song-jae a chance to see her again. In the interim, Sun Yu was meeting with his friends. Kyu-young asked Sun Yu if he liked Yoon-soo. He wanted to break Yirin's hope. Though Sun Yu said he did, Yirin still confessed her love to him. Sun Yu said she was just being selfish and jealous. Yirin was speechless. Kyu-young took her out of there. Not until when Yoon-soo came home that she realized she lost her phone. Sun Yu tried to reach her on the phone. Song-jae picked up his call. Sun Yu came to Song-jae's place, wondering why he was keeping Yoon-soo's phone. Giving Sun Yu no answer, Song-jae criticized him for making a stupid speech. If he failed to prove it, Yoon-soo would face severe criticism. It would hurt her one more time. Sun Yu wasn't shaken. He brought the phone to Yoon-soo's place. From her window, Yoon-soo saw somebody spying on Sun Yu. She went down with anxiety and encountered him. Yoon-soo told Sun Yu about the stalker. He then rode away as if he knew nothing. Sun Yu took a turn to a corner, leaving his motorbike there. Sun Yu appeared from behind and took the camera. They both struggled to take the camera. Hearing the police's sirens, the stalker knocked Sun Yu senseless. The police took him to the hospital. Yoon-soo ran there forthwith. Seeing unconscious Sun Yu, she cried and blamed herself for putting him in danger. Having a flesh wound, Sun Yu already woke up. Yoon-soo drove him home. She hoped he would be safe. Sun Yu found the math teacher on the following day. He hoped the math teacher would confess his faults and unmask Young-ah. Or else, they would shift all the blame on him. The math teacher clearly knew it. But he aren't accuse her. Taking orders from Young-ah, the vice principal met a reporter specializing in smearing people. He bribed the reporter to smear Sun Yu on his article. Sun Yu was seeing Yirin. He said they would denounce them to the police. Yirin told him not to let Yoon-soo use him. He cast a chill over her. He only loved Yoon-soo. Growing worse in the character thereafter, Yirin used the photos sent by Young-ah to defeat Yoon-soo. When Yoon-soo was with Seon, she received an urgent call from the nurse. She instantly came to the nursing home. Her father's state got worse. He skipped meals, only immersed himself in solving math problems. He wondered if Yoon-soo could solve her problem. Yoon-soo said she would fall in love if she tried doing it. She was referring to Sun Yu. After getting the news from Seon, Sun Yu also ran to the nursing home. Yoon-soo was confused and about to leave. Sun Yu chased after her. He pushed her to a corner and hugged her tight. He wished to help her solve the problem. He would make their enemies pay. No one would be against their love. Yoon-soo rejected his love. If their love was a math problem, it was wrong from the beginning. So, it was meaningless to try for the answer. Sun Yu did what he said. He brought along the evidences and denounced Young-ah to the police. The bribed reporter tried to stop him by playing the recording of Sun Yu's love confession to Yoon-soo. Turns out Yirin recorded their talk last night. The reporter said Sun Yu's feelings were the reason why Yoon-soo was fired. After a moment of confusion, Sun Yu still handed in the evidences. When he left the station, he tried to keep calm despite the reporter's insult. During the meeting to select the president of the fund, Yeonwoo accused Young-ah of using ASEAN High School's fund for her own needs. She presented the evidences given by Yoon-soo. Young-ah became cream-faced. She demanded a chance to explain, but her father didn't allow. He would investigate it by himself. If it was true, he would dismiss Young-ah. Young-ah couldn't let it happen. She then convinced her father that the fund was used as an advisory fee for parents, not for her personal stuff. She strongly believed her ideal deserved to be his heir. Yeonwoo wasn't qualified to take over his ideal. Young-ah and Yeonwoo were both crazy. They drove their cars towards one another. Yeonwoo ended up yielding and hooked her drive. Young-ah laughed out loud when winning. Yirin sent Yoon-soo the video in which Sun Yu was surrounded by the reporters. Yoon-soo came to see Yirin. Yoon-soo thought Yirin was influenced by bad parents. Turns out Yirin was truly born with jealousy. It was Yirin who was harming Sunyu, not Yoon-soo's fault. Yirin shocked with anger. She drove Kyuhyun's car at a high speed. Kyuhyun gripped the wheel to stop her. Yirin knew Yoon-soo was right. Yirin's jealousy hurt herself. Reading the news, Yoon-soo was anxious for Sunyu. Couldn't reach Sunyu on the phone, Yoon-soo went out to find him. Unexpectedly, Sunyu was waiting on the lobby. Sunyu was weakened by love. Hugging Yoon-soo tight, Sunyu wanted to go away from this hurtful place with Yoon-soo. Yoon-soo did as he wished for the first time. She drove him out of the city. Sunyu woke up in an unfamiliar place. Seeing Yoon-soo nowhere in the house, he went out to find her. She was lighting a fire on the yard. It snowed in this quiet place. The best place to heal those with a broken heart. They enjoyed a good meal together. They were happy together. The congressman dismissed Sunyu's lawsuit in front of the press. When the teacher was claiming his daughter's innocence, the math teacher showed up. The congressman halted his speech to meet the math teacher. The math teacher asked him to pay for his silence. The congressman recorded their talk. The congressman threatened to sue the math teacher for blackmail. Yona stepped down and gave her seat to the vice principal. He actually was her puppet. Despite the congressman's announcement, Sunyu still enjoyed a concert with Yoon-soo. Yirin picked a quarrel with Sunyu's parents. Couldn't help it, Songjae's mother said she witnessed the congressman having an affair with Yoona. Yirin gathered other mothers at Yoona's office, asking for Yoonash's explanation. Waiting for the mothers to finish their words, Yoona spoke up. All of their husbands at least once met her in private. She kept it a secret. They didn't have an affair. Their meeting was to discuss about political affairs or privileges only for their children. Yoona wondered if they didn't want flying colors for their children. Other mothers left when Yoona finished. Yoona only asked Yirin's mother to stay. When there were only two of them in room, she admitted her affair with the congressman. Yirin's mother left there in anger. Seeing her name table face down, Yoona spoke sharply to the new principal. He knelt down and apologized. Right after that, he planned to revenge. Yoona met up with the congressman, asking him to control his wife. She didn't want to be bothered by her again. Yirin heard them from outside. She couldn't accept her father's affair. Her father denied, but Yoona admitted it. She even said they started their affair when he tried to cover Yirin's scandal. Unable to accept the truth, Yirin swore she wouldn't forgive them. The congressman faced his wife's indignation. He blamed Yoona for seducing him, but he never touched her. Following after the piano concert, Sunyu and Yoon-soo enjoyed music in a room. Sunyu got out to pick up a call from the police. Yoon-soo disappeared when he returned. He found her nowhere around there. Earlier, his father talked to Yoon-soo. He believed once Yoon-soo left Sunyu's side, he would have a peaceful life. Yoon-soo did as he wished. Sunyu received a call from Songjae. Songjae wanted to help Sunyu expose the truth, making the sinners address their sins. They decided to join hands. Songjae gave Sunyu an USB, which carried the evidences of Yoona's misappropriation. Songjae could use his power to dig into it. Sunyu left the pub. He told the math teacher Yoona stepped down to escape punishment. The math teacher's statement was the only hope. The math teacher came to see the new principal. The new principal agreed to help him overthrow Yoona. When the math teacher came to the hospital for his sick mother, Yoona already sent his mother to a VIP room. She also gave him money as hospital fee. He was between a rock and a hard place. Whose part to take? The following day, Sunyu, Yoona, and the congressman were interrogated about 4 years ago exam cheating. Sunyu tried to indict them and they denied it all. In the middle of the investigation, everyone was surprised by two witnesses. They were Yoon-soo and the math teacher. The math teacher said Yirin bribed him for the exam leak 4 years ago. Yoona knew it too. She allowed him to leak the exam. In return, he couldn't tell anyone about her. Yoon-soo said Yirin's answer was exactly the same as the one before correction. That was why she wanted to check on Yirin's answers. However, Yoona made an excuse to make all students retake the exam. A male student ruined her plan. Yoon-soo still kept the meeting minutes regrading the result. Actually, the new principal found and gave it to her. Yona had told him to burn them all, but he kept them for a way back. It was indeed effective. Yona and the congressman lost this round. Yoon-soo could be confident in front her. Yona trembled with anger. The math teacher took side with them cause his mother was terminally ill. She incurred the consequences for him. That was the reason why he changed his mind. Yirin also began to pay the price. She went crazy and she tore all the certificates of merits. Sun-yu talked to Yoon-soo in front of the police station. She wanted him to step out of it. He should keep going on with mathematics. He had helped enough. At the same time, Song-jae broke up with Yeon-woo. They just had a business relationship and he didn't love her. Yona heard them from afar. Yona bought sushi to Yeon-woo's home. Yona was so confident cause she had found Yeon-woo's infiltrator at the Department of Education. Yeon-woo freaked out. To save herself, Yeon-woo promised to withdraw her accusation at the last meeting. The relationship between Yona and her father was still as good as usual. She could restore to her previous post. Yirin and her mother weren't lucky as her. Yirin's mother was accused of bribery. Yirin's stuff was seized for the investigation. The congressman begged for Yona's help. She told him to pass the buck to his wife, which could get him and her daughter out of it. He told his wife to admit it and she would get remission. If she didn't, her husband and daughter would get involved. It was on the news that the congressman's wife was caught. Sun-yu's parents were both happy and worried about their son. Sun-yu's father said he asked Yoon-soo to stay away from Sun-yu. Sun-yu heard him. He finally knew why she kept pushing him away. He even tried harder to help Yoon-soo. Sun-yu then asked to see Yirin. He needed her to join hands to defeat Yona. If not, Yona would lay all blame on her mother and the math teacher. Right after that, Yirin went to Young-ash's place. She didn't allow Yona to hurt her mother. Yona was so good at manipulating. She succeeded in persuading Yirin. On the contrary, Sun-yu and Yoon-soo were arranging their life. They both strove for a better life. Only when they could get rid of the past, they would live a happy life. Song-jae gave his friend, a prosecutor, all the evidences. Who would dig deeper into it? When Yeon-woo's father knew she even couldn't hold the key of a man's heart, he thought she was unapt for running the school. Yeon-woo became scared. She tried to prove herself. She asked Song-jae to greet her father. She would cancel their wedding on a condition that he would engage with her, which would help her consolidate her position in the coming meeting. That was uncalled for him, because he would help her overthrow Yona. On Christmas Day, Seon invited Sun-yu to the orphanage's Christmas party. He met Yoon-soo there. Seon held the arms of Sun-yu and Yoon-soo, listening to a song. They looked like a family in the photo. At the end of the party, the three even took a photo together like a family. Song-jae told Yoon-soo he would continue being a math teacher. She promised to live well. They promised to meet again when Seon became a mathematician. Then they went their own ways. Sun-yu came back to Oseon High School. Yona was back to her position. Seon warmly welcomed Sun-yu. She was about to tell him something. Seon figured out Gina had the answers of the exams. She took photos and sent them to Yoon-soo. Yoon-soo gave Seon a book with the same cover, which printed with the Math Center's logo. She wondered if the center gave the answers to Oseon's rich kids. Yoon-soo thought of two special kids. Yoon-soo questioned the center's manager about those photos. Of course, he denied it. Gina received photos of her book, in which were the exam's answers. She came to the appointed place. A while later, students gathered around in the art room. Seon was knocked senseless by someone. Sun-yu was on the ambulance with Seon. Yoon-soo rejected his call cause she was busy talking with the manager. She wasn't scared confronting him and Young-ah. She left after the talk. Getting the news, she ran to the hospital in a state of panic. Seon was in a critical condition, which required an operation. Waiting outside of the emergency room, Yoon-soo remembered she heard someone else's voice when talking to Seon. Who was there? Another meeting to select the new fund president was held at Oseon. Yona and Yeon-woo were required to wait for the result outside. 30 minutes later, they were allowed to get back in. Yona was chosen, making Yeon-woo take the bit between her teeth. When Young-ah was receiving flowers and congratulations, she received a call about the accident. The police was carrying out an autopsy. She was so shocked when her daughter was the culprit. Gina sat in a corner with fear. She listened to her mom and pretended to know nothing. As soon as arriving at her office, Young-ah locked the door. She told Gina to tell her everything. Young-ah fell apart hearing the truth. The homeroom teacher told Sun-yu what she saw. Before Can's accident, Gina came to the art room with fury. A few minutes later, she heard Can's scream. Sun-yu came to the police station for the footage. He informed Yoon-soo after verifying the culprit. Young-ah asked her lawyer to see her at her office. Yet, the vice principal stepped in. Following him were Sun-yu, Yoon-soo, and the police. Young-ah got a tremble. The policeman showed Young-ah the footage. Gina was frightened running out of the art room. Young-ah didn't consider it an evidence. Not enough to accuse her daughter. The officer knew she would try her best to protect Gina. Young-ah's lawyer finally came to defend her. Depending on her lawyer, she was confident to deny everything. The officer couldn't interrogate Gina. After everyone left, the lawyer told Young-ah how to end the case, which was to make an amicable settlement. If not, her daughter would become a criminal, and her career would be turned to dust and ashes. At first, Young-ah wasn't willing to stoop to beg them. However, it was the best way. Sean was in a coma after the operation. Even experienced doctors could not tell when she would regain consciousness. Young-ah deleted all messages on Gina's phone. Gina was in a blind panic. She did everything her mother said. Gina swore that she wasn't the culprit. Young-ah didn't buy into her daughter. She took into her head that Gina was the culprit. Young-ah told Gina to close her mouth tight and pretend to know nothing at the coming trial. Young-ah wished Seon would never wake up. On the contrary, Yoon-soo prayed for Seon to wake up soon. On the day of the trial, the congressman escorted his wife to the court. In front of everyone, he claimed that he knew nothing about what they did. That made his wife writhe. Watching them on TV, Yerin was in a high dudgeon. Her brother was about to tell her something about school. Young-ah's daughter was seen nowhere at home. She couldn't reach Gina on the phone. Hearing about Gina's missing, the police thought it was an excuse to avoid making a testimony, so that they didn't search for her. Young-ah came to Yeonwoo's home. She hoped Gina would hide herself here. But she wasn't there and Yeonwoo didn't know where she was. Yerin's brother also disappeared. He left the books of answers to the exams on the table. He actually was with Sung-yu. Song-jae asked him about the book. Yerin knew her brother had it but he said no. Speaking of Seon, he seemed so scared. He made an excuse to leave. Couldn't find her daughter, Young-ah gathered the mothers at her office and revoked all the books of answers. The mothers had no idea that it carried the answers to the exams. They thought those were advanced exercises. Instead of burning those, Young-ah kept them in her safe. She went crazy when failing to reach Gina on the phone. Gina suddenly showed up. Young-ah embraced her but she pushed her away. That was Yerin. Young-ah was too worried to mistake between them. Yerin came to ask about the books of answers. Young-ah tried to grab Yerin's phone to delete the photos. Yerin pushed her to the table. Young-ah was so sad when her pot of plant broke. It referred to Ah-seong and her daughter. Her pot was broken. Seeing how miserable Young-ah was, Yerin realized she shouldn't go the wrong way. Gina actually came to the hospital to visit Seon. Yoon-soo saw her on the way out. Gina startled and ran away. Sung-yu also caught sight of Gina. He saved her from being hit by a car. Instead of querying Gina, Yoon-soo calmed her down. When three of them came to a quiet place, Yoon-soo deleted evidences regarding Gina, which Yoon-soo was about to use to revenge her mother. Yoon-soo sincerely apologized Gina for intending to use her on her revenge. Because Sung-yu and Yoon-soo didn't put pressure on her, Gina decided to tell them the truth. When Seon said he would report it to the Department of Education, Gina tried to take Can's phone to delete the photos. Seon was strong enough to push her away. When Seon bent down to pick her phone, Gina pushed her against the cabinet. The statue fell on Seon's head. Gina was so sorry. As Gina was really regretful, Yoon-soo took her to Seon's room. Gina held Seon's hand and said sorry. She then tuned herself in at the police station. When Yoona arrived, it was an accident, so they didn't have enough reason to accuse her. Yoona felt safe and took Gina to her car. Still, she didn't believe that Gina was innocent. Yoona thought Gina lied about everything. Yoona also asked Gina not to mention the books of answers. After everything was settled down, she enjoyed a tea break with her father. Her father thought she could handle it well, so he still gave her the position as the fund president. Yoona was so happy when Yeonwoo didn't attend her installation. In fact, Yeonwoo and Songjae were carrying out their plan. Based on Songjae's relationship with prosecutors, he tried to expose the principal of Asean High School and the congressman misused the scholarship fund. After that, he allowed a reporter to put it on the news. When the delegates voted for Yoona, the congressman read the article exposing them. All the delegates received the link to the news. Yoona didn't know how to explain it. Yeonwoo enjoyed the moment at home. The scandal was on national TV channels. The prosecutors collected evidences at Asean High School. Yoona returned when a prosecutor touched her safe. She refused to open it, so they tried to find the key by themselves. Finally, they found it under the plant pot. Yoona closed her eyes with fear when the safe was open. That was unexpected. Nothing inside. Though the vice principal helped her hide them. Before following the officer to the police station, she told him to call her lawyer. Thereafter, Vice President came to see Sun-Yu and gave him the evidence of the exam leak done by Yoona 4 years ago. Sun-Yu and Yoon-soo came to the nursing home. They took him to Seon with a hope that he could wake her up. Yoon-soo's father held Seon's hand and prayed for her. Someone called Yoon-soo and said she had all the evidences of Yoonash's guilt. It was Gina, daughter of Yoona. Gina also gave Yoon-soo Seon's phone and an USB which proved the guilt of the congressman and relevant people. It was the detailed list of the amounts they took from the fund. Yoon-soo's father played chess and kept talking to Seon. It was a miracle. She opened her eyes. Yoon-soo and Sun-Yu were very happy. When all the truth was revealed, Yoon-soo moved on. She worked as a math teacher at a secondary school. Sometimes, she met kids with imaginative visibility as Sun-Yu. When Yoona knew the police had all the evidences in hand, she wondered who betrayed her. She couldn't know it was her own daughter. Yoona and the relevant people blamed each other. No one admitted to be schemer. They considered themselves victims. They fought each other. The congressman shifted off the responsibility. Yoona ignored them all. She was shocked when Gina posted the evidence online. The teacher who was Yoonash's henchman left in a hurry. The vice principal put his resignation letter on the table and left. The scandal was on the news. This is the right time. Sun-Yu showed the press the evidences. Yoona was too shocked to speak. Her phone kept ringing. She aren't pick up the phone. She knew it was her ending. Even Yeonwoo got involved. Yoona ran to the school where she devoted her life. She was out of her mind when losing everything. Her daughter was the only thing she had. Even Gina turned her back on Yoona. Yoona collapsed. The congressman and his wife began to panic when Yerin was on TV. Brave Yerin admitted her exam cheating in front of the press. To cover it up, Yoona smeared Yoon-soo, a good teacher. Yoon-soo has been completely vindicated after 4 years. She also succeeded in persuading the manager to confess his guilt. All Yoonash's guilt were exposed. She still made an excuse of producing talents for the nation. No one believed her and she would be put in prison soon. Yoon-soo eventually agreed to meet Songjae. If her honor wasn't smeared, they would have been a happy married couple. Songjae respected Sun-Yu, 'cause he kept his words to vindicate Yoon-soo, which he couldn't do. The math teacher began his new life. He asked for taking a photo with Sun-Yu to brag. Yerin gave up on the glory and accepted Kyuhyun's love. After all, Sun-Yu, Yoon-soo's father, and Seon took a family photo. They took the professor back to the nursing home. For so many years, this was the first time he thanked Yoon-soo for not abandoning him. He then closed his eye and left the world. Yoon-soo was painful. At least, her father could rest in peace. Sun-Yu and Seon always stayed by her side. When arranging the professor's items, Sun Yu realized that Yunsu's father actually found the answer to his research. Sun Yu helped Yunsu arrange the materials. They confirmed Yunsu's father had successfully proved his topic. Sun Yu had no reason to stay with Yunsu. He planned to go somewhere far away to develop his career. 3 years later, the scandal was forgotten. Jina returned to the country and visited Yunsu. Jina took Yunsu to see Younga. Though Younga had a screw loose, she still acknowledged her fault. Because the talents she trained didn't thank her. She failed to produce a talent. Yunsu forgave her. Jina stayed to take care of her mother. Xian finally became a mathematician. She never forgot Yunsu's favor. When Xian was granted with the certificate, Sun Yu kept his words. He returned to see Yunsu where they first met. Same person and umbrella. One difference was that Sun Yu brought Yunsu her father's thesis. He published it as a book as her father's wish. Moreover, they could stay together. There is an inspiring quote: "If your destination is the moon, even if you get lost, you will be lost among the stars." Lofty ideals grow sweet fruits. The end. Goodbye and see you next time.